welcome to the IMS webinar series. Again, welcome back for some of you. I am Aaron Blair. I am your presenter for this entire 7-week series. I've been working with IMS and Retail Pro for the past 17 years, doing everything from project management to implementation to training to, I guess, this webinar series. So far in the series, first 3 episodes, we've covered e-commerce integration to Retail Pro, managing inventory, and Retail Pro Prism. So all of our webinars are focused on 3 areas, which are making money now, getting things done while you have the time, and being ready to open back up, hopefully soon. Hopefully some of you guys have already started in some capacity. So what can you expect from the webinars? Well, first and foremost, you can expect the webinar right here and right now. At the end of the webinar, we'll be addressing questions, so please post them in the questions section of the webinar control panel, and our moderators can organize them throughout the session to be handled during our Q&A time. Webinars should run anywhere between 45 minutes and 1 hour. Really just depends on the quantity and the depth of questions that we get at the end and how long the actual demo itself takes. Because like last week where we looked at Prism live, we're actually going to be digging into the reports module as well versus just a straight presentation. Additionally, we'll be introducing polls throughout each session, and your participation is greatly appreciated. The polls are anonymous. The results are simply going to display as a percentage of the overall feedback. So for anyone who's been on these webinars so far, this should be pretty familiar. So let's go ahead and do our first poll now. So our first poll is going to be, what is the most important feature of a retail system, our reporting system? And I know there's probably a lot of them, but these are 3 main buckets that I chose. So on your screen in front of you, you'll see the poll question awaiting your input. We'll allow a minute for responses. And during that time, as always, I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us and join me today. We've had a great series so far, a lot of interest, a lot of good feedback, and I really hope you enjoy the content. I know that I've had a lot of fun doing this, especially last week and this week, being able to get into some actual demo. And I've also enjoyed interacting with a lot of you guys one-on-one in between, before and after the sessions. Also, we really want to thank everyone for allowing IMS to be your trusted business partner. All right, let's see how we're doing with the poll. And it looks like we have almost everyone has given a response. So let's go ahead and close up the poll and let's take a look at the results. So interestingly enough, almost half configurability and advanced features. And I think I've seen over the years that we've really gone away from just that easy to use, give me a few reports mentality, and we've really moved into a give me more data and give me more access world. And I think this poll is just a result of that, right? 75% of people want more access to data, configuration, and advanced features. Ease of use, certainly nice. Prism Reports, I do feel like is easy to use. So that's a bonus, but really it's that advanced stuff that people are interested in. All right, let's go ahead and close up those poll results and we will move on. Last housekeeping item, just following each webinar, we are making recordings available to anyone who's in attendance or even anyone who registered and couldn't make it. And those are available to share with other members of your team who are unable to attend or to rewatch for your own knowledge. Also, someone here at IMS will be reaching out to you for feedback and to do some scheduling and follow-up and provide you with one-on-one insight for your specific business needs. So, as we've continued to do, before we talk about today's topic, which is reports, we'll just do a very quick recap of last week's topic, which is Prism. We reviewed all the new exciting features, got a live look at the updated user interface and user experience, and actually I've done follow-up demos with several people this week and the end of last week even. And we're already getting a couple of those upgrades on the schedule, which is great. So as a follow-up to the Prism experience, today, as I said, we'll take a look at Prism reporting. Now that we've created data through our point of sale, what do we do with it? How do we look at it? Well, that's simple, right? We report on it. And that's today's topic, which we're breaking down into 3 simple areas. First, similar to what we did in Prism, we'll look at the version history of reporting. Next, we'll look at Prism reports, both highlights and a demo. And then lastly, we're going to take a peek at Retail Pro Decisions, which goes to the next level of reporting. And it's not even a reports tool, it's a true business intelligence tool. And I know that for a lot of people, BI specifically is a hot issue. And that's something that people are very interested in. So we're going to take a quick peek at that as well for anyone who doesn't know that Retail Pro does have a BI decisions tool. So just as with the Prism demo, there may be some people here whose Retail Pro reporting experience goes back even earlier than version 8, but V8 is as far as we'll go back today. And really it's for the same reason, because version 8 is 20 years old. And being 20 years old, it utilizes an older database technology that limits reporting. Those limitations don't allow you to put certain data together with other data, and that's a result of the database structure that version 8 uses, which is called a flat file structure. Additionally, version 8 reports, and version 9 reports for that matter, are static, meaning they're really just a print to the screen. You can't interact with them. You can't do live filtering, no sorting, and that's some of the stuff we'll see with Prism reports that we can do with dynamic reporting. Version 9 reports, they were a major step in technology, and that was because of the introduction of the Oracle database in Retail Pro version 9. Oracle, not to get too technical, it's what's known as a relational database, meaning that the data, while it sits in different tables, they're all related to each other. So we have the ability to join them, look at them together, and really get the data that we want on one report. That said, version 9 reports were quite frankly not easy to create or modify. And in the end, of course, they were also static. Those reports were built in a program called Crystal, and you needed knowledge and experience with it to customize your own reports. Now, we did get some help with this with the introduction of FlexQuery. FlexQuery allowed for much simpler configuration of reports, the ability to do things like pivot tables, but it was also a third-party product and it had an additional cost to it. So certainly not ideal when you just want some out-of-the-box reporting that you can configure. So that brings us to Prism reports, which, like Prism itself, is the next generation of reporting, right? This is not version 10 reporting, this is Prism. Pulls together the configurability of FlexQuery and V8 reports, because quite frankly, V8 reports were rather configurable. And it combines that with the modern technology to allow for advanced features like dashboards, visualizations, and scheduled emailing of reports. And just to give an idea of the progression through the years, here's a visual example of V8 reports. This may look familiar to many people. You can see screenshots of a basic filter screen and a basic report. And V9 as well. More functional overall because of the underlying technology, but honestly, it's the same older look and feel of V8 reporting tool. Again, a filter example and a report. So now let's talk about today. And as I said, the future of Retail Pro and Retail Pro reports. When it comes to Prism reports, a ton of great new features. I want to highlight a few of them here before we move into the demo in a few minutes. Prism reports is a completely new and updated interface that runs in a browser, just like the Prism point of sale. This allows for easy use and access from anywhere with an internet connection. As you will see in the demo, there are multiple dashboard views and many user configurable fields and filtering. I mentioned it already, but scheduled emailing of reports is built in. Similar to Prism, doesn't require any special email server or email setup. It's just a built-in feature. And beyond just emailed reports, you can also set emailed alerts for inventory and sales thresholds. So for example, we can have the system let us know if on-hand levels of a specific product type drops below a certain level. And that can automatically be emailed out as those events occur. Prism reports can also be accessed from a mobile device like a tablet or a smartphone. You can easily create and share reports among users and groups within your organization and even outside of it. And I say outside of it, why is that important? Because that actually allows us at IMS to maintain a reports library and share those out to customers with a simple file upload. So if we've created 10 or 20 or 50 new reports, that's as simple as sending you a zip file and telling you where to find the upload button. And this is something you can do on your own, and as new reports become available, we're always happy to share them with customers who are on Prism reporting. Then if you want to take reporting to the next level, that's Retail Pro Decisions. As I said before, Decisions is not a reports tool, but rather a business intelligence platform. It allows you to see a full picture of your business and take action. Decisions not only integrates with Retail Pro data, but you can actually pull data from other sources as well and look at it side by side. That could include your open to buy spreadsheets. If you utilize a ticketing or an admittance system for anything, traffic counters and footfall data, or really any other systems that you're using outside of Retail Pro that you may want to analyze your Retail Pro data against. Decisions also allows for emailing, scheduling, and mobile access. And you can create dashboards on the fly in a simple, it's kind of a Google style wizard, and I'll show you that when we take a quick look at the product. Okay, enough explanation. Let's go ahead and take a live look at the products. For this demo, as I said, we're going to do a high-level overview of Prism reports, and then we'll do the same with decisions. So let me pull up my demo box here with reports. So the first thing you're going to notice is, of course, this overall design, look and feel running in a browser, just as Prism Point of Sale does. And of course, we see our visualizations here. So these are user-specific dashboards. And you can see up here, I have 3 different dashboards. Each of them can contain 6 panels. These are as simple as I run a report, it has a chart with it, and I like it. I click on a big star that makes it one of my favorites, and I select which of my 3 dashboards I want to put that different visualization in. And speaking of visualizations, what's cool is we can actually visualize on the fly. So for example, if we want to look at our sell-through report here in a different fashion, then I can simply come here and I can say, hey, let's visualize it. And all that's going to do is it's going to give me all of the underlying data, which is not the important part here, and any dimensions that are accessible that make sense on a chart or a graph. So I'm going to do a real simple one and just say by store, I want to see what my current on hand is. And I want to see that in a bar chart. There you go. Or I want to see this in a line chart. There you go. Or maybe a pie chart, right? A donut chart. We can see all of these together. And what's really neat is they're actually all linked together. So for example, if I said, hey, I want to just look specifically at my warehouse, of course I can scroll over and it's going to give me the summary of total products on hand. But if I click on it here, you can see that every other one of these actually updates to just the warehouse. Now, of course, that might not always make sense on some other charts, but just know that this is available. And if I click it again, everything will come back. So very, very simple to do these visualizations and have all different types of charts and graphics. Okay, and then of course, that's nice that we have a dashboard. It looks pretty and it's easy to quickly get our data, our high level information, but we also need detailed information, our actual reports. So it's just a matter of coming in here and going to the reports. So we can see I've got my reports here, which are ones that are specific to me as a user, and other reports, which are our baseline. Those are the included reports that we can build off of. So my reports, which include many from our IMS custom library, as you can see going down, I've got things like associate reports, customer metrics, sales summaries, discount, hourly, weekly, monthly. So really everything that I would need here. I can look at slips, I can look at purchasing. Here's purchase orders here. And you can see down that I've got over 100 reports here to be able to access. So sticking to the one that we were looking at to look at a report, let's look at a sell-through report. Now, of course, I mentioned there's scheduling. So all I have to do to schedule is to come in here and say, hey, I want to turn on email scheduling, and I want to send it either once, daily, weekly, or monthly. And I can simply input email addresses, multiple. Simply separating them with a comma, I can put in as many as I like. A subject, here's your daily sell-through report, and a message, report attached. Let me know if you have any questions. I can choose whether that comes out in a CSV, a modern Excel file, or a PDF. And then of course I can select date and time for any of these types of options here. And I'll show you the formats when we look at the report, because I'll show you the export capability as well. So I'm just going to cancel that scheduling, and we're going to go ahead and run that actual sell-through report. I'll just point out quickly what the other options are when I highlight a report. This is called quick run here. This is just going to run it without any options for filtering, pre-filtering, anything like that. Edit if I wanted to get in and edit, or delete if I had the rights to delete any reports. This is standard run. That's going to give us some more filtering options before we run it. And of course, the scheduling visualization that we looked at earlier, view in order to view the underlying data, and duplicate, right? Duplicate is, we want to do a sell-through report, but we want to see it maybe as I have here by DCS or store or detailed. Then I can duplicate it, add a filter, and create another copy. Pretty similar to any other version of reporting that you're used to. I'm just going to quick run this. And the first thing you see is my visualization. As I said, this star here, this allows me to add it or remove it from any of my dashboards. The data down here, so we have the actual live data. I can do quick grouping if I want. So for example, if I want to group by store number, I can simply apply that. Now it'll automatically roll it all up, but all I have to do is click the group by, and that will expand it. So we can see it's still grouped by store number. It's just automatically expanded. Now, if I want to get this out of the way, give myself more real estate, I simply click my 3 bars here. And as I said, this report is dynamic. It's not static. So dynamic, any Flex Query users might be used to this. I can come in here and say, hey, you know what? First of all, I want to add or remove some columns. They're all available here. I want to do things like maybe just, I don't know, swap my current on hand, my sold quantity first. I'm more interested in what is sold. Very simple to do that. If I want to expand my description to be able to read full descriptions, I can very easily do that. I can then, of course, edit this report to save these layouts how I want them. You can also do live sorting, live filtering. So if I click on any of my objects here, it's going to automatically sort. Now this, of course, is sorted by store number currently. And then, of course, I can filter. So if I said I only want to see white XXL items, and I only want to see my Salt Life t-shirts. So as I start to type that, we can see that it drills down to just the data I'm looking for. The nice thing here too is you don't have to use wildcards. So it's not just because I'm typing the exact beginning of the description, but let's say, for example, I just started to type life. It's also still going to find anything that has life anywhere in it. So it really is just a true search capability. And easy enough to say, hey, if I'm only looking at these few items, yeah, I don't need to group them by store anymore. So let me simply remove that, and there we go. Now, one, I'll call it a little bit more advanced feature for especially anyone used to flex query, used to pivot tables in general, is that I can also come in here and look at a data summary table. Now, I'm not going to do anything complicated here, but I'm basically going to say, hey, let's say by store, I want to see we'll just pick a quantity one. So we'll say I want to see current on hand. And I want to see a sum of that. So we can see that I can actually build out my own data summary tables or pivot tables right here. And the other thing that's cool is if you look and say, well, that doesn't seem like a lot, that's because it's actually only looking at the data that I filtered down on. So I can do this either filtered or not filtered. And then once I have all the data that I want here, of course, I can export. I have multiple formats to export: CSV, Excel, PDF, or I can send it straight to an email here if I'm not scheduling it, if I just want to send this out one time. I'm going to go ahead and do an Excel one just to show you, number one, how quickly that works, and number two, what it looks like. So in Excel, we're not only going to get the data summary, this is the table that we made, but we're going to get a data sheet with all of the information, of course, filtered down, because that's how we set it up. And we're even going to get the chart. And the chart is actually an embedded chart in Excel. So if I click on it and highlight some of these areas, I can see the actual underlying values as well. And again, this is all just a basic export. This could be sent as an email as well. So I'm not going to save that. I'm just going to close that. And as I said, this is a basic run through of what a report can look like and the things that you can do inside of it. We talked about the scheduling, just to show you, I have a full list of anything that is scheduled. So anything we would have scheduled would have appeared here. And we have just a few other options: account settings to change our password, and simply an option to log out. So very straightforward, very easy to use interface. Okay, so that's a basic overview of reports. Let me pull up my other demo machine that has decisions on it. And this is what our main start screen of decisions look like. As I said, decisions is a business intelligence tool. So that means I can create all of these different dashboards, all of these different types of reports. So for example, I can have a store report, and this is looking at a set of demo data. So it comes in with this nice cover page. You can design what this looks like, and a lot of these are just out of the box. And then a breakdown by store: sold dollars, sold quantity, best times of day, top 10 items, sales by department. So just general information about one store. Then my main retail store, same information, and my web store. So we can see these are all of the different locations that I have in one nice little store report. I can simply go back to start. And for something a little more visual, I'm going to pull up this US monthly sales dashboard for a large set of demo data that we have that is a little bit more national and across a lot higher revenue. So you can see I've got all my different dashboard here. This is pretty easy to set up. It's a lot of drag and drop. We can see that I have revenue by month. I've got revenue by state. I can select any state and drill down on that. And just as we could do in reports, for example, if I said, hey, I only want to see things related to t-shirts. So if we watch here, this revenue number of 10,655,000, as I select t-shirts, that's actually going to refresh to 2.5 million, which is only what I did in t-shirts. Everything else here is going to refresh as well. So all of our state numbers have now refreshed. In fact, some of our states have disappeared because they don't sell any t-shirts. If I simply click anywhere else on here, then it will come back and we can see a lot of this middle of the country here has come back because now we're looking at all of our data. And then, as I said, I just want to do a high-level overview of really the intelligence in here, but I also want to show you what this wizard looks like that I mentioned before. So when I mentioned the wizard, I said it's kind of a Google style in that, you know, for example, I can come in here and not that I have to type it this way, but I can say, show me revenue and profit over time. Now, as I did that, you can see that it automatically put in these different parameters that it thinks it's going to need for this, right? So time became part of this as soon as I typed the word time. It knew I wanted profit and revenue. And what it does is when I simply say, hey, let's see what that looks like, because it actually creates me a chart, right? So this set of demo data is a little older, only goes to 2018, but we can see it decided that what I wanted to look at was profit and revenue. So here's my total revenue on the blue bars year over year, and here's my total profit. It really is that simple. We can do that with anything. We can say, give me my sales by DCS, show me my sales by vendor, and filter it for specific vendors. So it really is simple to just come in here and tell it what you're looking for, or you can take some of these different types of things, and we're not going to get into all these right here, but we've got things like early warnings. So it can flag certain things, maybe stores that fall below a certain margin percentage as a whole. We can do what if analysis. So if we say, hey, what if we increased our sales by 10% next year in this particular store? How much inventory would we need to carry? What would our margins look like? You know, would that change staffing levels at all? If you have all of that data, as I said, we can bring it from different data sources. So we can look and say, okay, here's my, I have a traffic counter and here's my footfall data. So I noticed that, you know, if we run these different discounts that our traffic increases, but our sales actually go down. It's just more people coming in and looking or buying discounted items. So just tons and tons of examples we could go through on a one-on-one basis to really show you all of the different things within this business intelligence tool, Retail Pro Decisions. Okay, so just jumping back over to the last few slides on our PowerPoint presentation. As I said, just 1,000-foot view of reporting and decisions. So let's talk about a few next steps. Number one, reach out to us and schedule a custom demo. We can review your reports and assure you that they'll be available in Prism reports. So if you've got your daily, your weekly, your monthly, whatever is important to you, show it to us. That way we can say, yeah, absolutely, we can do that in Prism reports. It may look a little different, hopefully for the better, but yes, we can do it. And of course, Prism reports requires you to be on Prism. So talk to us about an upgrade if you're on an older version. I say it every week here, but now really is a great time to get moving forward. As I said, we have a good calendar right now of people looking to do upgrades, but we can always handle more. Okay, so let's do one more poll before we go into questions. After seeing this demo, what do you like most about the new Prism reports? Again, there's probably 20 options I could have come up with to be real specific, but these are just kind of for, call them highlights. So just as before, you'll see the screen in front of you. It's a poll question awaiting your input. And I know there's a lot of great new features. Overall look and feel is a huge improvement. We've got, of course, the mobile, dynamic reporting versus static, and the dashboards and the enhanced user interface. So I'm just going to allow one more minute for those responses. Looks like we've got a little over half of them in. All right, let's go ahead, and it looks like most of the people who are going to vote have voted. So let's go ahead and close that up, and let's look at those results. Okay, so exact tie on dynamic reporting and mobile, right? Mobile's important. People are, they're less tied to locations anymore. They're on the go. They're working remotely, especially now. So yeah, I understand mobile is important. Advanced features for sure, and then dashboards and user interface. I find that interesting. I guess if you're looking at most important feature, that may not be it. It's kind of a nice to have. And actually, we had just a couple of votes for that right there at the end that snuck in. Otherwise, it was going to be real interesting that we had no one for that. But as I said, we're talking most important feature as opposed to just things that you like. I kind of am curious if I had all of the above, how many would have gone that way. So maybe on the next webinar for the next poll, we'll have to do something like that. Okay, let's go ahead and close up those results. And let's go ahead and look at a few questions. So I know our moderators have been pulling those questions together. Just give me a second here to go ahead and pull up that panel. There we go. All right, looks like I've got good eight or so questions, so this should be good. All right, number one, how many basic reports come with a new reports engine for us to choose from? Great question. And honestly, the answer is at least over 100. And the reason I say that is because we're always increasing our reports library. So even what you see today, if you moved forward with Prism and got our current reports library, that may have 110, 20, 50, 200. Really, so as we develop them, they become part of that library that you're going to get on initial installation. And of course, anything that needs to be done for you, those would be included as well. And we would scope that out as part of your project. All right, let's see. Is there a cost for reports? No. Reports, you get a copy included for every site license that you have. If you need to go beyond that, I guess, yes, there is, you can purchase additional licenses. It's a small fee, but for every site that you're licensed for, you do get a copy of the reports application. And there's no difference for mobile. There's no difference for accessing it on a tablet or anything like that because you're utilizing the same user. Are my V8 reports still available in Prism? I think that was an early question before we talked about the fact that, talk to us, show us what your V8 reports are, and we'll tell you if they're going to be there or not. If we can schedule reports, can we define groups that can see the reports, managers, execs, etc.? It's a great question, and I'm actually going to answer that two different ways. Regardless of the scheduling, I'm going to answer that in the sense of you can create groups and you can assign them rights and you can assign them roles, so manager, accounting, admin, whatever, and then you can put users in those groups. So you can really create a hierarchy. Who has access to what reports, right? Accounting only needs to see financials. Buyers only need to see inventory and purchasing. So really you determine, it's very easy to go in as the administrator of your report system and determine who gets what reports and who belongs to which groups. I currently use custom reports built by IMS. Will I still have those? The answer is you can, as long as you show us what those are, and they can be replicated in Prism reports. And there's also a good chance that out of the box, Prism already has something very, very close to what you're looking for. So again, just get in touch with us and let us know what reports you need and let us work with you on that. And then you'll find you can configure your own reports in there as well. I didn't get into the building of a report, but certainly you have the access to go in and say, hey, here's the fields I want, and here's the type of data, and here's how I want it sorted and how I want it filtered. Can I set up and customize the dashboard? Yeah, so we had covered that. Very easy to say, hey, this is a nice chart. I like the information. I want to include this in my dashboard, and I want to include it on panel 1, panel 2, panel 3. So absolutely, you are able to do that as you see fit. Can you see the dashboard everywhere or only at the main? So anywhere you've got access to reports, whether that be at a main, at a remote, or on a device, you will have access to the same information. The dashboards, the reports, and every feature and function will still be available to you. Can the dashboard, this is another dashboard question, so I'll lump this one in. Can the dashboard be updated in real time, say every 15 minutes? Well, it's more real time than that. I want to say it's probably every 30 seconds that it's going out and looking at the database for updated information. Think of the publish and subscribe model for anyone who sat in on the Prism demo last week. So really, anytime the system has new information, it's publishing it, and reports is a subscriber. So reports is saying, hey, just give me the new data that you have, and I'm going to go ahead and push it up to these dashboards, right? Because otherwise, what's the point of a dashboard if it's just going to be the same information it was an hour ago? I want to see live what's going on. Are my sales increasing? What are my on-hand quantities like? You know, all of those things are important to have real-time access to. So yeah, great question. Inside theft is a big issue. Can we get warnings of high volume of refunds or other unusual activity? Absolutely, and that's one of the things that I personally, when I talk to people about reports, it's one of the things that interests me the most, because, and I don't want to say theft, you know, specifically, but anomalies, right? So yeah, it's interesting. It's good to get sales data and how much am I selling and how much product do I have, but the anomalies, right? The feel of a detective is the interesting part. So I want to be able to run a report on discounts over a certain percent, and show me who gave those discounts. Show me who the customer was. If I suddenly have an employee that is giving large discounts to the same customer all the time, that's something I want to look into. Or if, yeah, a high volume of refunds, unusual activity, because Retail Pro tracks things like, you know, high security when I exit a receipt, if I void an item or remove an item off a transaction, everything is tracked, which means everything's in the database, which means everything is reportable. So yeah, absolutely, and great question. Let's see. If the report comes to my phone via web, can we highlight a specific chart and see the data underneath? Yeah, again, you know, there's certain things with a phone. You know, even personally, I have the Note 10 Plus, which is, you know, one of the biggest available phones, but it's still a limited amount of real estate. So while you can do every function, absolutely, you do have a smaller amount of real estate. So you may just need to do a little bit more scrolling when you look at that data underneath, but the data is there. You're accessing reports, whether on a tablet, a phone, or your computer, doesn't matter. You're accessing the same product with the same rights and the same functionality. And then we talked about control of access to certain reports. Absolutely. Yeah, we can go in as an administrator onto our report system, and we can decide who can and cannot do what, whether people can create reports or modify or just view reports. All of that we can determine, or I should say you can determine how that's set up, and of course we'll help you with that. You know, just like Prism, Upgrade, or any other project, this is something where we're not just going to hand you the software and say, you know, good luck, here's some videos you can watch. There are Retail Pro TV videos on how to do all the functions in Prism reports, but of course, we want to work with you through the whole process as we normally do. One more question just came in. What about employee check-in and check-out to check employee lateness? Sure. You know, and this is one of those things that's good. You know, we can look at check-in, check-out, and then maybe you have a schedule in an Excel format. So we can easily bring that data together. We export out the check-in, check-out times, and then run some simple conditional formatting to say, hey, show me, just highlight in red anytime somebody's check-in time was after what their start time was supposed to be. So yeah, there's a lot of neat things that we can do with it. Certainly business intelligence, the Retail Pro decisions can do a lot of that as well. But even in the basic reporting application, there's a lot of things that we can do to bring other data together. But yes, to answer the general question, employee check-in, check-out, we can absolutely track that. You can export that. You can do whatever you want with that data. Okay, so I believe that is the last question. I think I covered them all. So let me just do this. And as we've done every week, say thank you. It's, you know, I know everybody's getting busier now. So to spend a little bit of time with me, 45 minutes to an hour every week, I do appreciate it. Really hope you enjoyed this webinar. As always, hope you found our time together to be valuable. Join us for the additional webinars in the series, typically presented each Thursday at 11. Now, next week's webinar, due to some of my own scheduling conflicts, is actually going to be moved to the back end of the series. So we won't have anything next week. You should have been notified, or you will be notified about that in an email that comes out tomorrow. So we're going to skip next week, do 6 and 7, and then we're going to do mobile POS on the back end. Instead of pushing everything a week, it just made more sense to only move one of them in case people want to check out those 6 and 7, and you know, they've already locked in that date and time. So again, thank you from all of us here at IMS. Of course, we hope everyone's staying safe. We hope you guys are starting to reopen, start to make money, and you let us know what we can do for you and how we can help you as a partner. So thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and enjoy your upcoming weekend.